Michael Turner never believed in destiny. To him, life was simple. You work, you pay bills, you sleep, and the next day everything repeats again. Nothing magical, nothing mysterious, just routine. Michael lived in a small apartment in Chicago on the 3rd floor of an old brick building, the kind of building where the elevator made strange noises, and the hallway lights flickered at night. His life had become quiet over the years. Too quiet. Every morning he woke up at exactly 7 a.m. not because he loved mornings, but because routine was the only thing that made life predictable. Coffee, shower, work. Michael worked as a data analyst for a logistics company. Numbers, spreadsheets, shipping routes. It wasn't exciting, but it paid the bills. His coworkers liked him. They often invited him out for drinks after work. Most of the time he refused, not because he disliked them, but because somewhere along the way Michael had become comfortable being alone. Or maybe he was just used to it. But everything changed on one rainy Thursday evening. The letter. The rain was falling harder than usual that night. The kind of rain that makes the entire city feel gray and distant. Michael stepped into the lobby of his building, shaking water from his jacket. The smell of old wood and dust filled the air. He walked toward the mailboxes without thinking. Bills, coupons, advertisements, the usual pile. But then he noticed something strange. One envelope, plain white, no stamp, no return address, just 3 words written in black ink. Michael Turner, his name. He frowned. That's weird, he murmured. The building required postage for all mail. Nothing could arrive without it. So how did this get there? He shrugged and went upstairs. His apartment was small but tidy. A couch, a kitchen table, a bookshelf full of novels he rarely finished. He placed the envelope on the table. For a moment he simply stared at it. Something about it felt strange. Finally he opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The message began with a sentence that immediately made his heart race. If you are reading this, it means I finally succeeded. Michael frowned. Succeeded at what? He continued reading. My name is Michael Turner. He rolled his eyes. Very funny, he muttered, but the next line made him pause. And I am you 10 years in the future. Michael laughed out loud. Okay, he said to the empty room. This is getting good. But as he kept reading, the laughter slowly disappeared. The letter began listing things about his life, things nobody else should know. His first dog, Charlie, a golden retriever his parents gave him when he was 8. The time he broke his arm falling off a tree behind his childhood home. The exact password he used for his email account. Michael's hands slowly began to shake. How? There was only one explanation. Someone had hacked him, or someone very close to him wrote this. But then he read the next line. Tomorrow morning you will spill coffee on your shirt before work. Michael snorted. Yeah, right. He tossed the letter aside and went to bed. But the next morning, everything changed. Michael walked into the kitchen half asleep. He grabbed his coffee mug, turned toward the table, and then his elbow hit the mug. Coffee spilled everywhere. Across the table, across the floor, across his shirt. Michael froze. His heart started pounding. Slowly, very slowly, he turned toward the counter. The letter was still there, waiting. He picked it up again. The next line read, now you know this is real. Michael felt a chill run down his spine. The letter continued. In 3 days, you will meet a woman. Her name is Emily. Michael frowned. He didn't know anyone named Emily. Do not ignore her. She will change your life. Michael leaned back in his chair. This was insane. Completely insane. And yet, the coffee prediction had come true. Exactly. Still, he decided not to think about it. He went to work, tried to forget about the letter, but the words stayed in his mind all day. Emily. 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 3 days later, Sunday afternoon arrived, and Michael walked into a small bookstore downtown. The bookstore was quiet. Soft music played in the background. Michael browsed the shelves without much interest. And then, someone bumped into him. Books fell to the floor. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, a voice said. Michael looked up. A woman knelt beside him, helping pick up the books. She had brown hair, green eyes, and an apologetic smile. It's totally my fault, she said. Michael shook his head. No, it's okay. They both reached for the same book at the same time. Their hands touched. She laughed softly. I'm Emily, by the way. Michael felt the world slow down. Emily, just like the letter said. They started talking, at first about books, then about movies, then about life. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Eventually Emily suggested coffee, then dinner, then a long walk through the city. For the first time in years, Michael forgot about being alone. Emily was funny, smart, warm, and somehow it felt like they had known each other forever. That night when Michael returned home, he picked up the letter again. The next sentence made his heart tighten. She will become the most important person in your life. Michael smiled, but then he read the next line, and everything changed. In 5 years, She will die. The letter explained everything. A rainy night. A highway outside the city. A car accident. Emily dies instantly. Michael survives. But barely. For 5 years I have tried to change that moment. I tried everything. Nothing worked. So I did the only thing left. Michael held his breath. I sent this letter back in time. Michael sat in silence. Rain tapped against the window. Somewhere in the future, another version of him was watching, waiting, hoping. The letter ended with one final instruction. In 5 years Emily will ask you to take a road trip. You must say no. Michael whispered into the empty room. No. He couldn't imagine refusing her. But if he didn't, she would die. Over the next few months, Michael and Emily grew closer. Movie nights, road trips, late-night conversations, laughter, love. But the letter never left Michael's mind. Every happy moment came with a shadow. 5 years. 5 years until the accident. Sometimes he looked at Emily and felt a sudden wave of fear. What if the future couldn't be changed? What if everything was already written? Years passed. Their lives became intertwined. Emily moved into his apartment. Later, Michael proposed. She said yes. And still, the letter waited in a drawer. Silent, patient, counting down the years. 5 years passed faster than Michael expected. And one evening, Emily walked into the living room with a bright smile. "Hey," she said, "I had an idea." Michael's heart stopped. "Let's take a road trip." The exact words from the letter echoed in his mind. A road trip, the beginning of the tragedy. Emily looked excited. "There's this amazing place by the mountains, 4 hours away." Michael's mind raced. If he said yes, she might die. If he said no, maybe the future would change. He swallowed, and finally said the words, "No." Emily blinked. "Why not?" Michael struggled to explain. "I just don't feel like traveling." Her smile faded slightly. "But you love road trips." "I know." Silence filled the room. Finally she nodded. "Okay." But something had changed. Something small. Something invisible. And Michael realized something terrifying. Maybe the future wasn't as simple as the letter suggested. Because sometimes, avoiding one fate creates another. 3 weeks later, Emily was driving home from work. It was raining. A truck ran a red light. The accident happened anyway. Different road. Different day. Same result. Michael stood in the hospital hallway hours later. The doctor approached him slowly. "I'm sorry." Michael felt the world collapse. He had tried to change the future, and somehow, he had only led them to it. Months later Michael opened the drawer. The letter was still there, but something new appeared at the bottom. A sentence that hadn't been there before. "Now you understand. You cannot stop what is meant to happen." Michael stared at the paper. Then he noticed something else. His handwriting. The letter wasn't written by some future stranger. It was written by him. He had sent the letter himself, because grief had driven him to try one impossible thing. To go back. To warn his past self. But the moment he tried to change fate, he had unknowingly created it. Somewhere in time, another Michael would soon receive a letter, and the cycle would begin again. Because sometimes, the future we try to escape is the one we accidentally create.